It started like any other morning on the Malibu cliffs, sunlight stretching over ocean waves, gulls circling above manicured rooftops, and the faint scent of jasmine drifting through salt-kissed air. But just past 6:42 a.m., at the eastern gate of the private Seabright Estates community, something unusual happened. A man stood at the entrance. Tall, built like a former athlete, skin glistening from a 5-mile run along the Pacific Highway. Black track pants, dark gray performance tee, and no accessories. No keys. No wallet. No ID. Just a cracked phone tucked into his waistband and the weight of presence. His name was Jordan Reeves. But the woman staring him down didn't ask for it. Her name was Karen Whitfield. 50. White. Head of security for Seabright Estates. Her heels echoed across the cobblestones like gavel strikes, each step dripping with a confidence born not of training, but tenure. Aviator shades, radio clipped to her hip, and a voice that could cut concrete. Sir, residents use the West Gate. This entry is for authorized staff only. Jordan didn't blink. Didn't flinch. He simply stepped closer, just enough for the motion sensor to beep, a soft, digital sound. But not soft enough to hide the tension that followed. Karen's eyes narrowed. Step back immediately. You don't have clearance for proximity access. His reply was steady. Come. I live here. A beat passed. Then two. Karen tilted her head, just enough to feel superior. Then pressed her radio. Control, I've got an unidentified male attempting access at Gate 2. No visible ID. Uncooperative. Possibly casing the property. Jordan looked past her, toward the mansion beyond the gate. 3 stories of glass, stone, and silence. The one he designed. The one he paid for. The one he built. But none of that mattered. Not in sweatpants. Before we go further, tell me, where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments. And if you believe that dignity doesn't wear a uniform, hit like. Hit subscribe. Because what you're about to witness, it's not just a story about power. It's a masterclass in presence. And Jordan Reeves? He's about to remind everyone watching that legacy doesn't knock. It walks in. Jordan didn't move. Not an inch. The gate remained closed, humming faintly behind the silver posts, but his stillness hit harder than any siren. Karen adjusted her stance, one hand still gripping her radio, the other planted on her hip like a badge of assumed authority. I said step back, sir. Her voice was firm. Practiced. The kind used to command couriers and landscapers. Never questioned, never challenged. Jordan's gaze held steady. I'm not stepping anywhere, he said. This is my property. That's my gate. She let out a short breath, more scoff than sigh. If that's true, then where's your ID? Where's your badge, your clicker, your registered license plate? She scanned the empty air, as if his lack of a luxury vehicle invalidated his presence. I don't carry ID when I run, Jordan replied. Didn't realize I'd need proof of ownership to get home. Karen smirked. People lie all the time. Sweatpants don't come with keys. Then she tapped her earpiece again. Unit 5, be advised. Situation escalating. Suspect is argumentative. Standing his ground. The word, suspect, cut through the air like static. From across the street, a delivery truck slowed. The driver, a younger Latino man, rolled down his window, brows furrowed as he watched the interaction. Then, discreetly, he pulled out his phone and hit record. Jordan noticed, but said nothing. Karen didn't. Sir, I'm warning you. If you don't vacate this entry, I will involve law enforcement. For being at my own front gate? Jordan asked, incredulous but still calm. Is that the policy now? You're triggering the sensor without clearance. You failed verification, she snapped. My face isn't enough, he asked. Not today, she said coldly. A pause. Then Jordan reached slowly, deliberately, into the side pocket of his joggers, pulling out his phone. Sweat slicked. Screen cracked at the corner. He tapped one icon. One name. Naomi, he said, voice level. Activate Omega Protocol. Full perimeter override. Karen squinted. What is this, some YouTube prank? The phone beeped. Confirmed. Naomi's voice came through, clear and composed. Perimeter override activated. Gate access reassigning to primary resident, Jordan Alexander Reeves. And just like that, the gate buzzed. Green. Karen froze. But the conflict, it had just begun. Because access might be granted by systems, but respect? That had yet to arrive. As the gate lights shifted from red to green, Karen didn't flinch, but her eyes flickered. Just for a moment. Jordan watched her carefully, like a man who's seen that look before. Not once. Not twice. But 100 times, in 100 different places. This wasn't new. This wasn't surprising. It was just exhausting. Because for men like him, black, composed, successful, home has never just meant a street address. It's been a battle zone of expectations. A proving ground wrapped in stucco and surveillance cameras. He remembered another time, another gate. Chicago, 1993. 7th grade. He wore his cousin's blazer, 3 sizes too big, hoping to blend in at the science fair hosted at a prestigious school. The invitation had said, open to all, but the security guard at the front entrance didn't read invitations. He read skin tone, posture, and clothing. You looking for someone? The man asked back then, voice suspicious. No, sir. I'm presenting. Not here, you're not. That day, Jordan never made it past the front steps. He stood outside the marble building, holding his trifold poster about renewable energy while his classmates walked right past him, never turning around. That memory lived in his bones. And now, 30 years later, it had returned. Same tone, same gate, different state. Karen's voice broke the moment. That override doesn't mean you're cleared for long-term access, she snapped, clinging to control like a life raft in a storm. This needs verification. Official channels. Jordan's laugh was soft. Not amused. Just tired. Everything I built, you want to run through a filter you control. Another voice cut in. From the sidewalk, a young woman in yoga gear, earbuds still in, paused. Hey, she said, I've seen him jogging here for years. He lives in that house. Karen turned on her, sharp. Ma'am, this is a private conversation. Please keep moving. But it wasn't private anymore. Not with 4 cameras recording. Not with a crowd slowly forming behind the florist van. Not with the world watching in real time. That's the thing about history. When you try to erase someone's presence, all it takes is one witness to write them back in. Jordan didn't move. His eyes drifted up to the ridge behind the gate, the same view he chose the day he bought this land. He wasn't just reclaiming entry. He was reclaiming the narrative. The gate clicked softly again. A chime more than a sound, mechanical, neutral, official. Gate access confirmed. Jordan Alexander Reeves. Primary resident. Seabright Estates, Lot 14, the system voice announced from the speaker. The words weren't loud, but they landed heavy. The kind of heavy that shifts air, resets posture, and forces people to confront the weight of their assumptions. Karen didn't look at the speaker. She stared at the gate like it had betrayed her. From the curb, the florist, still holding his phone, zoomed in, eyes wide. Yo, did it just say he lives here? He whispered to no one, to everyone. Another voice, older, from a man leaning against a mailbox with a morning paper in hand. I've seen him on HOA calls. That's Jordan Reeves from ApexNet. Karen's lips tightened, but she wasn't giving up ground. You can spoof systems, she snapped. Anyone with enough money can trick a voice assistant. Jordan raised an eyebrow. So now the problem is that I have too much money? You're making a scene, she hissed. You're embarrassing yourself. Jordan's tone didn't change. Am I? Or are you just embarrassed that the gate recognized me before you did? Karen's reply never came. Because the street had changed. Neighbors had stopped walking. A family unloading groceries from a Range Rover had frozen mid-task. A jogger paused at the crosswalk, pulled out her phone. And from the air, just above the cypress trees lining the estate, hovered a small consumer drone, blinking red as it recorded everything. The florist, emboldened by the crowd, spoke again. Ma'am, no offense, but we all just heard the system confirm this guy owns the house. Maybe it's time to step aside. Karen turned, her voice rising. I don't answer to bystanders with camera phones. But you do answer to property owners, said a voice behind her. It was another guard. Yeah. Nervous. His name tag read Tyler. He held a tablet. Shaky hands. Screen facing out. Mr. Reeves is verified, Tyler said. He's listed as the master account holder. HOA, legal deed, everything. He even has biometric override. Karen's shoulders stiffened. And then Jordan took a step forward, not threatening, just present. This wasn't about safety, he said, loud enough for the cameras. It was about power. And now the people you tried to impress are watching you lose it. The gate buzzed once more. Green again. But this time, no one could pretend not to see it. By now, the neighborhood app was buzzing. Literally. Ring notifications, citizen alerts, next door threads. Someone had tagged the entire Seabright HOA group with the words, "Security detained the owner of Lot 14. You need to see this." Screens lit up across Malibu cliffs. Phones pinged on kitchen counters. Watches vibrated on morning wrists. Someone even added a hashtag. Hashtag let him in. In less than 10 minutes, it trended locally. And Karen. She stood there, stuck between protocol and pride. A gate confirmed what her instinct refused to accept. But the problem wasn't the system. It was her belief that she was the system. Jordan didn't gloat. Didn't shift his stance. He just stood there, an immovable fact in a place that was suddenly full of doubts. Behind him, the florist adjusted his phone and whispered to his stream, "She's still not moving." Even after the system said his name. Like, what does it take? The younger guard, Tyler, tapped his earpiece. "Central's watching this feed," he muttered. "Legal too." Karen's voice turned sharp. "We do not let protocol be dictated by TikTok and gossip. If I say we verify through command chain, then we wait for the chain." Jordan stepped closer. "Is that the real policy?" he asked. "Or just the one you apply to people who look like me?" Karen's chin lifted. "I follow rules." "No," Jordan said, calm and cutting. "You follow comfort. And the moment you felt discomfort, because I wasn't dressed like money, you pulled rank you don't actually have." The crowd thickened at the sidewalk. Residents now leaned against fences. One man even brought out a folding chair and a fresh cup of coffee. Across the street, a Tesla eased to a stop. Window down. A young woman called out, "That's Mr. Reeves, right? The guy who donated the solar panels for the clubhouse." Jordan glanced briefly, nodded once. Karen's facade cracked for half a second. But she recovered, turning back to Tyler. "Radial HQ. Request supervisor override." Tyler hesitated. "Ma'am, HQ already pinged back. They said, Mr. Reeves has full-tier priority clearance." Karen froze. And suddenly, the chain of command she worshipped had just looped around her neck. Jordan didn't have to shout. He didn't even have to point. Because the illusion of control, it had already collapsed. Jordan didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. Because the moment had already outgrown the sidewalk. A woman near the front gate whispered to her teen son, "That's the guy who funded the robotics program at Westview High." The boy nodded, eyes wide, phone steady in hand. Another neighbor, a retired Navy vet, crossed his arms, watching Karen with a look that said he'd seen this kind of authority before. And how quickly it unraveled when faced with the truth. Karen's hands stayed close to her radio, but her confidence? That was slipping faster than the signal bars on her headset. Then, Jordan did something simple. He reached for his phone again. No rush. No panic. Just control. "Naomi," he said evenly, "activate Omega Plus. Full compliance log. Begin live upload." Naomi's voice came crisp through the line. "Understood, Mr. Reeves." Broadcasting real-time access logs to internal legal and HOA servers. Audio and facial recognition synced. Panel input archived. Karen turned sharply. "You're recording me?" Jordan met her eyes. "I'm protecting myself." And there it was. A sentence that echoed louder than any accusation. Because every black man in America had felt it. That unspoken need to be over-prepared, over-documented, over-qualified, just to be believed. And this wasn't the first time Jordan had felt it, either. He remembered being 28. Harvard grad. First tech conference as a speaker. He walked into the VIP lounge and got handed a tray of hors d'oeuvres. They thought he was catering staff. He didn't say a word. He just set the tray down and took the mic an hour later, to a standing ovation. Back then, he let it slide. Today, he wouldn't. Because today, someone tried to erase him from land he paid for, designed, protected, and uplifted. You don't have to like me, he said to Karen, voice calm but heavy. But you will respect the boundaries I built. The land I cultivated. The systems I architected. Behind them, the gate's speaker chimed again. Biometric sync complete. Jordan A. Reeves verified. Priority access restored. All command overrides archived. Karen looked around, but now she wasn't surrounded by allies. She was surrounded by witnesses. And Jordan. He didn't look angry. He looked done. Because history wasn't asking to be retold. It was demanding to be remembered. The gate buzzed again, this time not from verification, but from consequence. Karen's earpiece clicked. Not a voice. Just silence. The kind that feels heavy. Tyler looked at his tablet, jaw tight. Ma'am, he said carefully. Internals requesting a copy of this morning's full interaction. All comms. All body cam data. Karen blinked. What? He hesitated, then repeated. They're asking for your footage. Start to finish. No edits. Behind them, another security officer, mid-30s, sharp fade, quiet until now, pulled out his own device. HQ's flagged this as a formal incident. You're under review. Karen turned. Excuse me. He didn't flinch. We're supposed to escalate when safety's compromised. Not when egos are bruised. The comment stowed. And from the sidewalk, the crowd grew. A woman in scrubs paused mid-jog. A man with a bulldog crossed the street. 3 teens on bikes stopped at the corner, phones lifted. Jordan stood at the center of it all. Calm, unmoved, undeniable. Karen, desperate to reset the script, turned toward Jordan. You could have just said who you were. I did, he said. No, I mean, properly. With ID. With protocol. Jordan let out a soft exhale. You wanted credentials. Not confirmation. There's a difference. And then the nail landed. From Jordan's phone, Naomi's voice returned. Mr. Reeves, the HOA board has joined the live feed. Westridge Legal is reviewing in real time. Karen paled. This was no longer a gate dispute. This was exposure. Years of unchecked authority, suddenly spotlighted in 4K. Jordan didn't gloat. He didn't move. He simply stayed steady, like a lighthouse in a storm. You treated me like a glitch in your protocol, he said. But I wrote the software your badge runs on. Karen looked down at her radio like it might offer her a way out. It didn't. HQ just revoked your override access, Tyler added, voice quiet. Your panel's locked. Karen's hand hovered over the console, blinking red now. She tapped it once. Nothing. Twice. Still nothing. And the system, like the truth, had finally chosen a side. Jordan's. Because gates may be made of steel and circuitry, but integrity? That's a different kind of access. And today, it was fully restored. By now, the moment had evolved past confrontation. It was protocol versus principle. And the principle had a legal team. Naomi's voice chimed again. No emotion, no rush, just corporate precision. Mr. Reeves, legal counsel from ApexNet and Westridge Estates Management is now active on the broadcast. General counsel has flagged this as a violation of access and attainment policy. Karen turned, the color draining from her face. You called who? Jordan didn't answer. Because he didn't need to. Behind the gate, a sleek black SUV rolled up. Tinted windows. No sound but tires easing against the stone pavers. The rear door opened, and out stepped a tall man in a tailored navy suit, tablet in hand. Ms. Whitfield, he said plainly. I'm Damian Clark, HOA appointed legal oversight. You've been observed on live security footage initiating an unauthorized lockout of a verified property owner. Karen straightened. I was following protocol. He didn't present ID. Damian raised a brow. He didn't need to. The system verified him biometrically. And as of 2 minutes ago, your override rights were officially suspended under Section 3.5 of the Seabright Conduct Clause. Tyler, still holding his tablet, turned it for her to see. It's real. It's signed. Karen's lips parted, searching for rebuttal. But I had reasonable suspicion. You had bias, Damien replied flatly. And the footage proves it. The crowd murmured. Not loud. Not chaotic. But steady, like water rising in a glass. A man with a folded newspaper called out, "She tried to block the guy who owns the land?" Seriously. Another added, "We let her run this place for years?" Karen's voice cracked now. "You're making this bigger than it is." Jordan finally turned, facing her squarely. "No," he said. "You did that the moment you turned a property gate into a line between who gets presumed respect and who has to earn it." Damien tapped his tablet. "As of now, you're relieved of gate duty pending full investigation. Please hand over your access badge." Karen stood frozen. The panel behind her blinked red again. One final denial. Not from Jordan. Not from the crowd. But from the system she once commanded. The only thing left for her now was the silence, and the consequences that always followed it. The gate had become a stage. Not by design, but by necessity. Because in 2025, when injustice meets Wi-Fi, the world doesn't look away. It records. Across social media, the stream titled, "CEO Denied Entry at His Own Mansion," had just passed 48,000 live viewers. Local news outlets picked it up, then regional ones. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Screens glowed from couches to classrooms. And, at the center, Jordan Reeves, still calm, still composed, still exactly where he was supposed to be. Karen, however, was unraveling. "I didn't profile anyone," she said loudly, though no one had accused her out loud, yet. This wasn't about race. A young man holding a DSLR camera stepped forward, press badge clipped to his collar. "Then what was it about?" he asked. "Because the system said his name. The deed said his name. And you said, no." Karen's jaw clenched. "I followed what I thought was proper procedure." The camera zoomed in on her face. "You thought? Or you assumed?" Silence. From behind her, a soft voice called out. "He built this neighborhood." It was the elderly woman from Lot 11. Hair in a bun. Floral house dress. Her eyes didn't leave Jordan's face. 10 years ago he stood right there, next to my late husband, breaking ground on this community, she said. He put his own money into the infrastructure. The solar grid. The safety system. You know the little help center near the tennis courts? That was his idea. Someone clapped. Then, another. The sound wasn't wild, it was grounded. Certain. And. Karen turned to Damien, the legal rep. "This is a public mob," she snapped. "They're trying to shame me." Damien didn't blink. "They're reacting to what you did." A voice from Jordan's phone broke the air again. "Naomi. Mr. Reeves, local broadcast affiliate KTLA, is live on scene. They've requested a brief comment." Karen's face drained even more. Jordan looked directly into the drone camera above, now hovering like a quiet observer. Then he spoke. "They tried to stop me, not because they knew who I was, but because they didn't," he said. "And that's exactly why I built what I built. So one day, no one would ever have to prove they belonged in the home they already paid for." The drone panned back slowly, capturing the faces, the moment, the message. Karen didn't speak again. Because in this showdown, her voice had been overruled. Not by force, but by truth. Karen stood there, motionless. Her hand still hovered near the now useless radio clipped to her hip, as if clinging to the last thread of authority. But authority had already walked past her. Jordan Reeves took one calm step forward. Not rushed. Not triumphant. Just assured. "Naomi," he said into the phone, his voice level. "Initiate formal revocation protocol. Remove Karen Whitfield from access privileges across Seabright command systems. Gate control. Entry locks. Comms channels." Naomi's response came with clinical precision. "Confirmed. All access tied to Karen Whitfield's credentials is being deactivated now." Karen turned sharply. "You can't do that." Jordan didn't even look at her. "I just did." Behind her, the control panel blinked. Once, twice, then went black. Her badge lit red. A long, defiant flash. Then silence. She reached for the keypad, punched a sequence, nothing. Tried again. Still nothing. The gate no longer recognized her. Neither did the job she once held. Tyler, the younger guard, stepped back instinctively. The other officer, silent until now, removed his earpiece and dropped it gently onto the booth counter. Karen's breathing grew shallow. "You're making a mistake." Jordan finally faced her. "No. I'm correcting one." Then he turned to Damien. "Notify HOA and security ops. Whitfield is to be relieved permanently. Document today's incident under bias escalation, obstruction, and refusal to comply with verified identification." Damien nodded. "Already done. Compliance has your footage, timestamps, and panel logs. HR has been looped." Karen's voice cracked. "This isn't justice. This is revenge." Jordan looked at her, calm as ever. "This isn't revenge," he said. "It's accountability. The kind you've spent years avoiding under the protection of your position." The tension in the air shifted. Even the crowd quieted. Because there's something heavy about watching someone lose power, not because it was taken, but because it was never truly theirs. A delivery driver stepped forward and said what everyone was thinking. "Ma'am, the gate didn't lock you out. It just finally caught up with you." Karen's shoulders dropped, her mouth opened as if to reply. But no words came. The gate buzzed behind Jordan once more. Green. Like it was waiting for him. He didn't rush. He didn't gloat. He simply stepped forward. Through the gate. The line she drew in the sand was now behind him. And with every step, he wasn't just reclaiming his property. He was reclaiming the definition of control. The moment Jordan stepped through the gate, something shifted, not just in the air, but in the people watching. It was like the street took a breath. The kind of breath you don't know you've been holding until it finally escapes. Neighbors who had once peeped from windows now stepped onto their porches. The delivery driver turned off his engine and joined the sidewalk crowd. Even the teenagers with phones in hand stopped scrolling, started listening. A woman in her 60s, sun hat tilted and sandals squeaking, looked around and said it first. "About time someone stood up to that gate." Someone else replied, "She's been power tripping for years." And then, something small, but powerful, happened. A resident, young and sharp in a UCLA hoodie, opened a community petition app on his phone. Typed 3 words. "Remove Karen Whitfield." He tapped, "Create petition." And within minutes, signatures started stacking, names from every corner of Seabright Estates. Lot 3. Lot 7. Lot 14. One by one, the community weighed in, not with rage, but with reason. A mother standing with her daughter near the crosswalk raised her hand and spoke toward the camera drone still hovering. "My kid plays in this neighborhood. We need security that protects, not profiles." Her daughter, no older than 12, added softly, "That man's house is prettier than all the others. He shouldn't have to prove it's his." It wasn't said with sarcasm. It was said with clarity. Even truth sounds gentle in the mouth of a child. Tyler, the guard who once deferred to Karen, stepped forward to Jordan. "Sir, for what it's worth, I'm sorry. I should have trusted what I saw." Jordan looked at him, nodded once. Accountability matters. But so does growth. The crowd wasn't chanting. They weren't screaming. But their silence was organized. Phones were still up. Comments still flooding in. Hashtag let him in had now merged with a new hashtag. Hashtag change the gate. The florist whispered to his stream, "This isn't about security anymore. This is about what it means to belong." Up above, the drone captured one wide shot. Jordan standing calmly near the fountain in his courtyard, the community gathered just beyond the gate. It didn't feel like surveillance. It felt like history. Because in that moment, everyone watching understood, power can lock a gate. But people can open one wider. Jordan Reeves didn't look back as the gate closed behind him. He didn't need to. The buzz of it locking into place wasn't just mechanical, it was symbolic. Not of exclusion, but of reclaiming. Of drawing a line between what used to be tolerated and what never would be again. The walkway to his front door felt longer than usual. Not because of distance, but because of gravity. The kind of gravity that comes when the world finally sees a truth you've known all your life. He paused beneath the archway of the porch. Cool shade, warm wood beneath his feet. Everything around him had been designed with precision. The stonework, the columns, even the hedges that curved around like open arms. It was his. All of it. Not rented. Not borrowed. Built. He stepped inside. The quiet wrapped around him like a custom-made suit. Fitting, familiar, earned. In the foyer, a large frame hung above the entryway. Black and white photo. Soft edges. His mother, standing outside their childhood home in South Chicago. Head high. One hand on her hip, the other clutching her Bible. He stared at her for a moment, then whispered, "I made it past the gate, Mom." And deep down he knew, she would have told him this day would come. Because dignity doesn't need an invitation. It arrives with you. Jordan moved into the living room, passing by photos on the wall, ribbon cuttings, board meetings, scholarship award ceremonies. Every picture told the same story. Success was never handed to him. It was carved. One setback at a time. He sat down, phone still in hand, notifications buzzing. But he ignored them. Instead, he opened a worn notebook that sat on his coffee table. Leather cover, soft with time. Inside, scribbled quotes, legacy notes, ideas he'd jotted over the years. He flipped to the first page. Get read. Legacy is not what you leave. It's what they can't erase while you're still here. He smiled. Because today proved that. Not just to him, but to everyone watching. From the kid in the UCLA hoodie to the florist with the live feed, to the girl who said his house looked prettier than the others. They all saw what grace under pressure really looked like. They saw what happens when presence meets principle, and what happens when silence chooses to speak, not with rage, but with resolve. Jordan looked up. The sun was sliding lower over the ocean. Warm gold touched the edges of the room. Peaceful. Honest. He leaned back, whispered one last thought, not to the camera, not to the crowd. Just to the next person who'd ever feel erased. You don't have to raise your voice to raise your value. You just have to stand. Calm. Steady. And unshakable. And with that, Jordan closed the notebook. And the chapter. But not the story. Because this was a blueprint. For how to walk through any gate, and leave it better than you found it.